A cliché copyright or cliché is an expression, idea, or element of an artistic work which has become overused to the point of losing its original meaning or effect, even to the point of being trite or irritating, especially when at some earlier time it was considered meaningful or novel. In phraseology, the term has taken on a more technical meaning, referring to an expression imposed by conventionalized linguistic usage. The term is frequently used in modern culture for an action or idea that is expected or predictable, based on a prior event. Typically pejorative, cliché copyrights are not always false or inaccurate. A cliché copyright may or may not be true. Some are stereotypes, but some are simply truisms and facts. Cliché copyrights often are employed for comic effect, typically in fiction. Most phrases now considered cliché copyright originally were regarded as striking, but have lost their force through overuse. In this connection, David Mason and John Frederick Nims cite a particularly harsh judgment by Salvador Dali: "The first man to compare the cheeks of a young woman to a rose was obviously a poet. The first to repeat it was possibly an idiot." In making this statement, Dali was appropriating the words of French poet Gare copyright Rade de Nerval: "The first man who compared woman to a rose was a poet, the second, an imbecile." A cliché copyright is often a vivid depiction of an abstraction that relies upon analogy or exaggeration for effect, often drawn from everyday experience. Used sparingly, they may succeed. However, the use of a cliché copyright in writing, speech, or argument is generally considered a mark of inexperience or a lack of originality. Origin: the word cliché copyright is drawn from the French language. In printing, a cliché copyright was a printing plate cast from movable type. This is also called a stereotype. When letters were set one at a time, it made sense to cast a phrase used repeatedly, as a single slug of metal. Cliché copyright came to mean such a ready-made phrase. Many authorities say that the French word cliché copyright comes from the sound made when the molten stereotyping metal is poured onto the matrix to make a printing plate, including the statement that it is a variant of clique, to click, though some authorities express doubt. Usage: all dictionaries consulted recognize a derived adjective cliché copyright with the same meaning. The noun cliché copyright sometimes is used as an adjective, although some dictionaries do not recognize the adjectival sense, only listing its use as noun, and listing cliché copyright separately as an adjective. See also. References. Further reading: Anton C. Ziderveld. On Cliché copyright The Superstructure of Meaning by Function in Modernity. Routledge. ISBN A9780710101863. Marjorie Sabin. The Life of English Idiom, The Laws of French Cliché Copyright. The Dialect of the Tribe. Oxford University Press US. pp. 10 €25. ISBN A9780195041538. Veronique Traverseau and Denise Pesser. Stereotypes et Clichés, Langue, Discours, Société. Poetics Today 21, 463 €465 doi, 10.1215/03335372-21-2-463. Skorczewski, Dawn. Everybody has their own ideas responding to cliché and student writing. College Composition and Communication 52, 220 €239 doi, 10.2307/358494. JSTORA 358494. Ruth Amossi. The Cliché Copyright in the Reading Process. Trans. Therese Leon. Trans. Therese Leon Substance 11, 34 €45 doi, 10.2307/3684023. JSTORA 3684023. Sullivan, Frank, 1938. The Cliché Expert Testifies as a Roosevelt Hater. In Crane. The Roosevelt Era. New York, Boney and Get ppA 237 €242. OCLCA 275967. Mr. Arbuthnot: No sir. Nobody is going to tell me how to run my business. Q. Mr. Arbuthnot, you sound like a Roosevelt hater. A. I certainly am. Q. In that case, perhaps you could give us an idea of some of the cliches your set is in the habit of using in speaking of Mr. Roosevelt. A. External links, Cliché copyright S, avoid them like the plague. A Euro list of Cliché copyright D phrases, the movie Cliché copyright S. List a Euro list of Cliché copyright S in films, where clichés come from, slideshow by Life magazine, how to slay a Cliché copyright. Growing list of common Cliché copyright S and how to recast or rewrite them.